My name is Menma Uzumaki, aka Rock Lee, and I fight with the power of youth!
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Neon Pow here, and this week we are doing What If Rock Lee Was a Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. This series will be taking part in the same universe as my What If Naruto Was an Uchiha series, so if you have not seen my movie adaptation of that, I highly recommend you do so to get the other perspective of this What If, and I have that link in the card above and in the description underneath that like button. Also guys, we're going to be doing again 100 likes for the goal on this video, because I know you beasts easily knock that out every time, so let's see how fast you can do it this time. Also, if you have not joined the Discord server, link to that is in the description below, and it's super fun, and it's a way I can interact with all you guys. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into the video. From the same Naruto Uchiha universe, we now move over to the tale of a similarly unfortunate young boy. This boy was orphaned at a very young age when he lost both his father and mother. On top of that, he was also forcefully entrusted with holding the Nine Tails, Kurama, inside of him. To make matters even worse for our young Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, the boy soon found out at a very young age that he was born with a condition that could not allow him to infuse his own chakra, causing him to lack the basic ninjutsu and genjutsu arts that everyone else possessed. The boy of this story is named Menma Uzumaki. However, he has given the nickname of Rock Lee by the third Hokage since he felt that way he could forge his own identity without any affiliation with the shinobi clan and raise Lee's morale. And so, the journey of the chakraless Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, known as Rock Lee, begins. At the age of just 3, Lee was given an apartment and an allowance to begin living on his own. He had no family, no friends, and the third Hokage would rarely even pay attention to him. Lee was in a deep loneliness of despair at such a young age. Kurama would feed off of these dark emotions and try to entice Lee into turning down a dark path. Lee was scared and had no idea what to do. The only thing he could be able to talk to was the voice inside his head. He was so conflicted and wondered if it was the right to even trust a demonic being. However, one day before Lee almost lost the last of his sanity, he saw a man training in the training field. He watched him do hundreds of push-ups, sit-ups, handstands, and almost every single physical workout you can think of. He did not see the man once use any jutsu. This lit a fire in a young Jinchuriki. He thought to himself, why am I so low in the dumps? I have 2 working arms and legs and plenty of stamina to go around. And from that moment, Lee not once had a depressed look on his face ever again. He would go train day in and day out with taijutsu alone, the only thing he knew how to really do. His view on life completely changed. Kurama would try to entice Lee every so often, but it was no longer effective. Lee's will never once quivered over the years. This of course made Kurama furious, as he couldn't believe how this kid could have such a positive outlook with all the abuse and isolation other fellow Leaf villagers would give him. Many years passed of constant training, and now Lee was finally 7. He was heading back home after a long and exhausting day of training when suddenly he got ambushed by some older Leaf villagers and their kids. They mocked the Jinchuriki brat that can't even use chakra. They began yelling that he is scum that needs to be just tossed out like the worthless trash he is. He doesn't deserve the mercy of living. Lee just stands there quietly, and once the villagers end their banter, he just looks at them and smiles. Then he gives them a thumbs up and says,
Thank you for the support! I'll work even harder!
The villagers just look at him with disgust and begin beating Lee senseless. They kick him in the face and stomach, causing his nose and some of his ribs to break. He is beaten to almost an inch from his life. When what seemed like a gust of wind, Might Guy charges in with a dynamic entry that sends all the barbarous villagers flying away. At this point, Lee almost goes unconscious, but he feels someone pick him up and begin carrying him. All he remembers before he blacks out is the smell of sweat and someone with a shiny bowl cut and green spandex moving him. He then wakes up the next day at the hospital feeling sore all over his body. He's confused on how he got here, but then just briefly recalls someone helping him. He can't remember too well, so he doesn't ponder on it for too long. He knows he has no time to waste and can't let the small injury stop him. He gets ready to begin training once again. At this point, the nine-tailed fox, Kurama, can't take any more of it. He yells out at Lee and asks if he's in the right mind. His own people almost killed him yesterday, and now he's going to train without even batting an eye to the fact? How could any living being be so docile? Lee, as he is walking to the training ground, stops and looks up to the blue sky. He tells Kurama that it takes much less effort to forgive someone than hold a grudge. Forgiveness is instant, while holding a grudge and hate can be eternal. Why be dragged down with all the negativity when you can work on yourself and feel free as a bird soaring the skies? Kurama did not expect such an answer, let alone from a 7-year-old child. Kurama just sits there for a moment, just pondering, then just smirks and goes back to sleep. Lee then closes his eyes, takes a deep breath, and begins charging forward. However, he then slams his face into a tall, lean man in a green spandex. When Lee looks up, his jaw drops and he begins to apologize profusely. This man was his idol, Might Guy. Guy just smiles at the young kid and then tells him it's no problem at all and gives him a slap on the back. Lee attempts to hold back the tears from the pain of his broken bones. Lee then says it was a pleasure to meet him, and then he quickly begins heading off. But before he can, Guy stops him and asks if the kid wants to train under him. Lee comes to a complete stop and turns back faster than what seems like the speed of light. His eyes are gleaming with light. He then asks if he truly is worthy to be trained under the legendary taijutsu master Might Guy. Guy says, sure thing, kid. He has watched Lee for a while now. He knows that he has more than enough guts and willpower to accompany the sensei. Guy looks at Lee and he tells him that he needs to properly train the young man to get him ready for the academy entrance exam. Lee looks surprised as he's never even thought he would be allowed to get in since he could not utilize chakra properly. He just laughs and says your power will be more than enough to satisfy the entrance exam once he's done with his initial training. Lee just yells with excitement and the 1-year training arc begins. A year passes and Lee finally turns 8 and is ready to take the entrance exam. Lee obviously fails the ninjutsu and genjutsu parts of the exam, and he of course gets made fun of by the other students. However, when the taijutsu part begins, the entire atmosphere changes. This is where we begin hand-to-hand combat between the young kids. All the kids of course want to go against Lee because they all believe he is a weak loser with no talent in anything. But oh, are they mistaken. Each kid that goes against Lee gets taken down in a blink of an eye. No one understands what's going on. Many of these bullies complain that Lee is cheating and must be using some type of invisibility ninjutsu or genjutsu. The referee of course refutes all these claims, saying that Lee is still unable to infuse chakra and that all of what he's doing is taijutsu. All the kids look at Lee. Instead of being proud of their fellow peer, they now feel envious and jealous to think that a talentless fool like Lee could get so strong. Lee, on the other hand, is just ignoring everyone and is just focusing on his fighting. He is getting so bored until finally a worthy opponent shows up. It is the prodigy of the Hyuga clan, Neji Hyuga. He tells Lee that his fighting is admirable, but is nothing compared to natural-born talent. The two begin fighting, and the fight seems fierce. Lee is actually finally beginning to have some fun. He's excited to fight someone that can keep up with him. The ref eventually calls it a draw. Neji just smirks and says if they meet in real battle, he won't be holding back, and then walks away. Lee says with an over-enthusiastic voice,
I'll be looking forward to it, Neji!
Lee is astonished that someone was close to his level of taijutsu, and his opponent wasn't even using jutsus himself. This makes him even more excited to keep training and getting stronger. After the entrance exam is over, the results are published. Lee looks and looks for the name alongside Guy. At first, Lee doesn't see it, but then Guy tells him to look closer, and then he sees his name listed under alternatives. This makes Lee jubilant that he got in. It is also appropriate to note that Lee got into the academy 1 year earlier than Sasuke and Naruto, the Uchiha twins, as he is 1 year older than them. After the announcement of the fresh students, Lee and Guy go to celebrate with more training. Guy even tells Lee that because of his hard work, he will teach him some special powerful techniques that even Lee will be able to use. And that's where we're leaving part 1 to What If Rock Lee was a Nine-Tailed Jinchuriki. Now guys, if you enjoyed this part and want to see more of my videos, make sure to like and comment below, as I love every bit of support you beasts are giving me. Also guys, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon to stay up to date with all the juicy, fresh what ifs coming to a streaming service near you. So without further ado guys, I'll catch you in the next one. Much love, Neon out.